Has anyone been involved in a big disaster when those generators don't work?
Winter storm.
Yeah, the winter storm.
Right? And winter storm, something, hurricanes, I can tell you, it's not a nice place to be. It's not a nice place to be. And talking about all these different things, trying to keep those gen sets reliable, is to keep you away from that, right? Because it's something that you just don't shake off. So it's all about getting reliability. So when we talked about that fuel injector, so if you guys looked at that one port, right? So remember we talked about compression ignition, right? So it's really important with a diesel engine that you are going to burn all that fuel off. And when you're pouring fuel into these older blocks, they're just not as efficient as burning the fuel off, right? So fuel's a property. It doesn't go away. Where is it now? You didn't burn it, so where is it? It's in your cylinders. It's on the heads. It's working its way towards your exhaust system. They refer to that as wet stacking. Okay, because you're not burning the fuel. You don't have enough load on it, so the fuel is building up inside. So when they say come in annually with the load bank, what you'll see is black soot and smoke come pouring out of that thing because you're burning off all that fuel. So that derates the horsepower of your engine, okay? That could cause a serious problem for you. It could actually get to a point where you could actually have a stack fire. You've pushed enough fuel up into your exhaust system that it's just sitting there waiting for its day. And when it goes, it's pretty freaking cool. I mean, it is like a rocket, right? Those little bolts in the flex pipe, that's not holding it, right? It's going to go for a little flight, a little Elon Musk action across the parking lot, okay? So there's a reason, especially when it comes to diesel engines, why you need to have load on it. Okay, and why they went to where they did. So let's talk about tier emissions. So I was just having a sidebar conversation right before break. So when the EPA came after, you've all heard tier requirements on diesel engines, right? Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 final, okay? What happened was the EPA was going after diesel rigs. They were going after diesel trucks. And we got caught up in it, okay? So they came out with these different horsepowers, these different tier emissions, and we have now gone through all those iterations, right? But what happened was when we got to Tier 4 requirements were so strenuous that basically the OEMs went back to the EPA and said, hey, we're out of technology. We can't do it on the engine anymore. I mean, some of the ones, and a lot of these mobile generators, they'll take the exhaust and they'll grab it and they'll run it back through the block again and do another run on it before they release it to the atmosphere. Okay? When you got the bigger engines, that option wasn't available. So they went back to the EPA going, hey, we're out of options here. So now they looked at, okay, we can go to a third-party SCR, catalytic reduction, okay, SCR, which is a third-party device that can help clean the emissions. So now you're going to spray DEF, you see it at the truck stops, right, the blue cans of DEF, or urea, you spray that into the exhaust system to clean your emissions up. So you put an SCR on a gen set, the price just went up 40%. 40%. So that was big. So the EPA said, okay, we hear you. We won't require it in emergency standby. So whatever rating you're at for your horsepower, Tier 2, Tier 3, you can stay there as long as you're doing emergency standby. So emergency standby in the eyes of the EPA is not life safety. It's if you're building normally has power, and now you don't, it's an emergency, right? So don't get it confused with life safety stuff. So EPA goes, if you're using a standby generator for that purpose, you freeze to keep the cost under control. Now, a lot of these bigger companies going, you know, I hear you, but I want to be a good guy. I want to be a green guy, and I want to go ahead and I'm going to buy Tier 4 engines for emergency standby. Well, the one thing that they learned real quick is DEF goes bad quicker than diesel fuel. It goes bad. And when DEF goes bad, it crystallizes. So now it's clogged up the whole emission system. So they said, okay, that was a mistake, right? So people got away from it. So if you run your gen sets for emergency standby, you're good. Where they drew the line is when you are going mobile, because now you're like a semi-truck. So now mobile generators have got to be Tier 4 final. So either they do the sucking the exhaust back in, or they've got some kind of urea dispenser on them. But mobile generators have to be Tier 4 final, okay? So big difference. Okay, let's talk about mobile generators. Some people said they have some. I think it's very challenging to keep mobile generators. I think it's a big challenge. There's enough challenges doing a stationary gen, but there's a lot of challenge when it comes to having a mobile generator. So let's say you're out, you're down, it's bad. You had a super awesome truck and you got to the site and you're pulling this generator behind you. What's the first thing you do when you pull up to that job site?
Safety.
Pause. People are excited. People are excited. A lot of people get hurt here. A lot of people get hurt here. Anxiety's up. They're putting power normally where they didn't. They're running cables. There's a lot going on here. I don't care who's yelling at you. Bring your little piece of bamboo and stare it and do your oofa or whatever you got to do and just calm down. Get your breath and put your plan together. So, if you don't have a plan, you need to make it today. This is perfect. The storm's coming in 2 days. I could have planned this better. Okay? You need a plan. And what is that plan? I don't know. How big of a generator do you need at what facility? That would be a good start. You know how many calls I've got? I need a generator. Okay. And what size? What voltage? So know how big of a generator you need for each facility. It's a red manila envelope, everyone. Emergency plan, capital letters. KW, voltage. Next question. Where am I going to park it? Can I get it to where I need it? Or what am I dealt with? A lot of times you can't get to where you need it, but this is the reality of things, right? So I'm going to put it here. You could draw a little picture, you could Google Earth it, right? Put it in your folder, put the gen here. How much cable do I need? Cable's a big one, everyone. Cable goes before generators do. Because people have long runs, all of a sudden all the cable gets sucked out of the area. You know, some of these events, I was pulling stuff from Arizona. My last big one, I was pulling stuff in from Maryland. Okay, so how much cable, what voltage, what size, where's it going to go? And where am I going to connect it? If you don't have a provision for it, you are now introducing power to somewhere that there wasn't power there yesterday. And what's going to happen when the utility returns? Am I isolated from that event? Okay? So I would do this for my data center guys. I'd walk all their sites. I'd make their little folders for them, put it away, give them some phone numbers on who to call, and have a plan. Very basic, but have a plan. So when you call up and all these questions come to you, because the last thing you want is trying to do back and forth to a generator guy during an event. I don't know. I talked to him about an hour ago. Now I can't get a hold of him. Yeah, no kidding. Okay? So be ready when he picks up the phone to give him the information he's looking for. Tap boxes. So I'm going to show you one out here. I brought one in my truck today. Company called Power Tap. Very nice. Let me borrow a product so I can show it to you. Tap boxes are a way to have a hookup to a mobile generator done safely. The connections are already there. Generally, they're cam locked. There's some kind of isolation between the generator and the utility, okay? And it's a nice, easy way to roll up, click your cables in and be done. The code people know this, right? Because what generally starts happening is you're starting to drop cables out of things in the field. So normally the generator would be hooked up there. Now you're going to have to get cables and you're going to have to drop them and you're going to have to bring the other cables in to where the old generator was. Or if there was no generator there and you're trying to do your building, you're doing the same thing but with utility cables. That becomes a problem. People strip a lug out or whatever, that becomes a problem. So they're hammering down on this. So now there's a new NEC code, National Electrical Code, that says if your generator is on your site because you're legally required to have it there, right? There's optional standby and there's legally required. If it's legally required to be there, you must have provisions for a roll-up, period. Now, it's one thing when the NEC says it, because it will roll across the country. Different states, different counties, we're on this version, we're on that version. What's changing here? OSHA got it. OSHA's on it. So there's a big change in this industry right now with tap boxes. Now remember, there's two different versions, right? There's one version for a mobile generator because you're going to bring power into the building. There's also devices that people will put on there to test their generators with load bank connections. But remember, with a load bank, you need access to the generator, and that's different than putting power into the building, right? So it's a different throw-over mechanism to be able to load test. If you're going to do load testing all the time, man, put provisions in for load testing. Don't have some technician dropping your cables all of your time to hook up a load bank to test your generator. Because when he left, did he do it right? Did he check his connections? I mean, to me, I commissioned the site, but if someone went in after me and started playing with load bank cables, I'm like, is it back to the way it was when you found it? I don't know. So if you're going to be doing testing, make provisions for it. But on the roll-up mobile side, that got serious. Any questions on that? Okay. For the love of God, ground the unit. Don't drive a rod in next to the gen. Take your ground wire and run it to building ground. Ground the unit. Guess what? I bet the ground's going to be wet. So I don't know. I would want it grounded. Green first. Green go. Ground first. Ground the unit. Okay, make sure you got a good ground on that unit. The other thing you need to know, three-phase building, phase rotation. Are your loads going clockwise or counterclockwise? Okay, not a big deal, right? If it's wrong, your motors are just spinning the wrong way. Generally no harm, no foul, but you got to stop and switch two leads around so it goes the right direction. So knowing your building's phase rotation is good to know ahead of time, so you're going to have to redo what you just did. Having the right voltage, you can only imagine how serious that is, right? You have a 480 generator roll up to a 208 building. It's fun. And it's easy to troubleshoot because everything that's smoking is broke. So having the right voltage and single phase. Single phase people get very confused on single phase loads. So having single phase, three phase, knowing what is that connection is going to be a huge key to success. But everyone, this is a safety thing. This is a safety thing. You just really have to slow your roll when you come up and just make sure you think it through. The other thing is, you don't know where this generator came from. You don't know, unless it was yours. Even if it was yours, you kind of don't know. Walk around it. Everyone goes, when this guy shows up, they go, oh my God, thank God it's here. You know what the attitude you should take? I don't know this person. I don't know this person, and this person's going to do a serious role right now. So I'm going to qualify this person before I put it to my building, right? Before I let my people operate it. So you walk around, you do your visual inspections. The other big one that everyone misses is checking your cables. You don't know where these cables were before. You don't know how many trucks ran over these cables. Were they on rocks and trucks were running over them? Now you're going to lay them on the ground, which is wet? Yeah. Hand over hand your cables, because you just don't know. So you take a look. Visual inspection is huge. You can just put your eyes on it. You can see things. Put your eyes on it, open all of the doors, and take a look at it and see what everything looks like. Visually inspect your cables. Then, before you operate it, close all your doors. And why do we close our doors? I got a koozie. Bird ain't flying near that thing when it's running. Why do we close the doors?
Safety.
Safety is one.
Proper airflow.
Airflow. Safety is a big one, though. You Georgetown guys are just... Airflow, right? They're designed to have these doors close so you get the right airflow around that unit. I love this job. I did a site walk the other day up in Dallas. They had a big 750 kW up there. Had the door open with a bungee cord, and they put a screen door up. They had a screen door. They riveted an actual screen door from Lowe's onto the genset. When I love this job. And I'm like, what happened? What are you doing? Oh, it gets too hot. So after I told them they have a radiator problem, to take the freaking door off. So you got to close the doors. It's designed that way. Even the tailgate guys with pickup trucks, you see the guys, they used to have the mesh nets in the back thinking they got better gas mileage. You worsened it. It's designed to have the gate closed. So airflow and safety. You won't get a lot of the safety parts you can't get at because they're covered. Dues. Please try and man it. Try and have it manned. Man the generator. That's a good idea. Have a fire extinguisher nearby is another good idea. Double check your connections, check your fluids. We talked about this, right? Refuel while you're operating. Especially these guys, right? You have no idea how that fuel's been in there. I'm sure there's been no program on it. Don't walk on the cables. And don't move the generator while it's running. Any questions on that? All right, we'll go outside and take a little visual on it. One of the things I just want to point out real quick too is, you want to make a mobile generator as adaptable as you can. So most of these mobile generators have got voltage selector switches on it. So do you remember that one drawing I had up here with all the different coils?